A girl's face contorts in terror as she realizes the horrifying truth of her situation. In the classroom, she desperately begs for a friend as her personal counter ticks down to 0. She drops to her knees, pleading for a second chance, offering to do anything to survive. A silent scream of pure agony rips from her as she faces her inevitable doom. The classroom door is suddenly thrown open, revealing a new presence. A monstrous figure in a lab coat appears, mocking her inability to keep a single friend. With the timer at 0, his glowing red eyes lock onto her, announcing it's time for her penalty. The girl sits defeated on the floor, the other students watching on, powerless to intervene. The sinister game master looms over a student, delivering a chilling ultimatum to the class. He lunges forward with a terrifying grin, declaring that those who fail don't deserve a future. In a brutal flash of pink light, the girl is instantly and completely erased from existence. A blue-haired student watches in utter horror, wishing for the gruesome spectacle to finally end. The game master observes the grim scene as the boy realizes their classroom has irrevocably changed. A flashback begins, showing the lifeless girl and confirming this nightmare started only yesterday. The scene shifts to a normal school day, with classmates happily socializing before the game began. We're introduced to Hayato Makabe, a quiet boy who prefers reading alone to interacting with others. His solitude is interrupted when two girls turn around to stare at him with disdain. The girls then begin to gossip about him, making him the target of their cruel whispers. Later, a starving Hayato is forced to drink from a water fountain to satisfy his hunger. His torment continues as the very girl who was just eliminated viciously shoves his head down. The girl, Mai Nanasaka, aggressively calls him a loser for getting in her way. Soaked and flustered, Hayato attempts to explain that she was the one who bumped into him. Her friends join the assault, cruelly mocking him for being too poor to afford lunch. Hayato is left speechless and humiliated, unable to defend himself against their taunts. The trio confidently walks away, dismissing him as a bottom feeder not worth their time. He stares at his dejected reflection in the window, the sting of their words still fresh. Overwhelmed by despair, he clutches his head, leaning against the water fountain in defeat. Hayato cautiously slides open the classroom door, trying to slip back in unnoticed. His return is met with a sea of judgmental stares from his classmates. The bullying immediately resumes as he's accused of showering at school out of poverty. The cruel taunts escalate as his classmates joke about him doing laundry at school next. He finally reaches the solitude of his desk, his only comfort a book lying on its surface. The flashback returns to the game's start, where a man named Miyakuzuka calls them all promising test subjects. The class murmurs in confusion, unable to understand why a government official is in their classroom. Miyakuzuka gives a twisted smile, confirming he'll be their teacher in a very unconventional sense. He then issues a direct government order, presenting a vial of mysterious contact lenses for them to wear. Students reluctantly take the vials, even those who already have corrective eyewear. Hayato inspects the strange device, learning it will automatically adapt to his vision. Despite his unease about the government's involvement, he complies and inserts the high-tech lens. With every student now equipped, the class sits in eerie silence, awaiting their new teacher's next command. With a deranged grin, Miyakuzuka officially begins the experiment, forbidding anyone from removing the lenses. A student questions the situation as a mysterious blue number materializes above her head. Hayato's vision warps, the contact lens activating and revealing something entirely new. He's stunned to see glowing numbers now floating above every single one of his classmates. Miyakuzuka writes on the board, naming the device the friend counter and explaining its function. The class is horrified to learn they are now unwilling participants in a friendship culling project. Their new teacher clarifies that this twisted social experiment is limited only to their class. A digital clock on the wall activates, starting a grim 24-hour countdown for everyone. Miyakuzuka reveals the first terrifying rule, sending a wave of panic through the students. A smug classmate spells out the consequence. The person with the lowest number will be the first to die. Miyakuzuka calmly confirms the deadline is the 5th period of the following day. A student erupts in anger, demanding to know the purpose of such a cruel experiment. The game master's face contorts with rage, insisting this is no joke. Refusing to believe it, the boy defiantly tries to pry the contact lens from his eye. The lens reacts instantly, his eye turning a sickening pink as a strange pattern appears. He lets out a silent, agonizing scream as a bizarre substance bursts from his face. The student collapses onto his desk, motionless after the horrific penalty. Miyakuzuka coldly reveals that removing the lens releases a fatal poison directly into the brain. Hayato looks on in stunned silence, his own friend Counter still displaying a terrifying 0. Their teacher delivers a final chilling lesson. Their very survival now depends on their social skills. The classroom is filled with despair as the students realize the gravity of their deadly new reality. Hayato clutches his head in a panic, convinced that making friends in 24 hours is an impossible task for him. His fear quickly turns to resolve as he decides his only option is to escape the school entirely. He bolts down the hallway, desperately trying to find a way out before anyone notices he's gone. The glowing 0 above his head is a constant, terrifying reminder of the fate that awaits him. His escape is cut short when he spots Miyakozuka calmly walking down a nearby flight of stairs. Hiding from the game master, Hayato is surprised to see another student also trying to sneak away. He notices the student's counter is a different color, deducing they must be from another class. Hayato approaches the stranger, gesturing to ask if they too are attempting to escape the experiment. The other student confirms with a weary look that they share the same desperate objective. Hayato urgently warns his new companion that someone is coming, telling him to jump first. Without a second thought, the other student begins to climb out of the open window. He leaps from the second story, landing with a rough thud on the grass below. The escape attempt instantly triggers a penalty as a bizarre pink substance erupts from his eyes. Hayato stares down from the window, completely horrified by the gruesome consequence. Suddenly, a menacing white-haired student grabs him from behind, demanding an explanation. The newcomer coldly accuses Hayato of using the other boy as a test subject for escaping. Sweating and terrified, Hayato frantically denies having such a manipulative plan. The white-haired student reveals this experiment is not a gentle lesson, but a harsh reality. He explains the true game is to make others trust you, just to ensure your own survival. The white-haired student compares friends to stepping stones, meant to be used and discarded for survival. He then turns his attention to Hayato's counter, noting the ominous 0 with a predatory gaze. With a sinister grin, he warns Hayato that being at the bottom makes him the most likely target for everyone else. The chilling warning sinks in, leaving Hayato trembling with the realization of his precarious position. As night falls over the school, the grim reality of their situation casts a long shadow. Inside, the students try to act normal during lunch, but the glowing counters betray their underlying fear. Hayato sits alone, unable to eat, envying the easy camaraderie his classmates seem to share. He watches others interact, desperately wishing someone would make the first move to befriend him. But a dark thought crosses his mind. For him to gain a friend, someone else might have to take his place at the bottom. Recalling the white-haired student's words, he realizes his classmates might be planning to ensure he stays at 0 to save themselves. The grim reality hits him as he questions if his lack of friends is truly a capital offense. An announcement over the intercom suddenly reveals that the restrictions on their phones are now lifted. The students learn there's a catch. Any mention of the experiment will be censored and penalized. The class quickly gets on their phones, reassuring their worried parents that everything is okay. As others call home, Hayato is surprised by a text message lighting up his own phone. The text is from a girl named Kisaki, who cheerfully asks where he is and mentions she made him dinner. His brief moment of warmth is shattered by a new message from his mother, bluntly asking for money. A wave of despair washes over him, realizing his mother's messages are always the same cold demand. The memory sends him back in time, showing him trudging wearily up the stairs to his apartment. He freezes outside his apartment, hearing a disturbing conversation that reveals the grim reality of his home life. He recalls overhearing his mother's desperate pleas for fortune from behind the apartment door. A younger Hayato stands motionless, his face a mask of resignation as he listens in. Inside, his mother is with a large man engaging in a bizarre ritual for wealth. The man showers them in golden paper, performing a strange ceremony to attract prosperity. Noticing Hayato, the man greets him with a disturbingly familiar and unsettling grin. He then turns his attention to Hayato, attempting to bestow a blessing upon him. His mother eagerly captures the moment on her phone, thanking the man for his supposed help. As they enter the small apartment, a young girl is seen sitting quietly in the corner. The girl, his sister Kisaki, looks up and acknowledges her big brother's return. The strange man looms over Kisaki, extending a chilling invitation for her to visit his dojo. The man makes a disturbing offer to Kisaki, who recoils in absolute fear. Their mother, completely unfazed, encourages her daughter to accept the man's twisted blessing. He then shifts his focus to Hayato, suggesting it's time for him to join their strange practices. A manic grin spreads across the man's face as he demands a monetary offering for the cult. His mother eagerly hands over cash, claiming it's Hayato's contribution to their cause. The cult leader puts a heavy arm around Hayato, pressuring him to start earning money for them. As they leave, the man makes a chilling comment about Kisaki following in her mother's footsteps. Hayato grabs his sister, desperately warning her to stay away from the man's dangerous dojo. His mother's voice cuts through the air, filled with pure fury at his defiance. She then strikes her son across the face for trying to protect his sister from their scheme. His mother furiously tells him that his misery will follow him even into the next life. The flashback ends, leaving Hayato to reflect on his grim reality, trapped by a cult and facing death. He feels himself falling into an abyss, convinced his current life is already an endless nightmare. Back in the present, he stares at his phone, torn between a kind message for his sister and his mother's demand. Tears fall onto the screen, blurring the words as his sorrow overwhelms him. A new thought cuts through his despair as he wonders what will happen to Kisaki if he dies. He quickly types a reassuring message, determined to protect his sister from the truth. With his resolve hardened, he makes a silent vow to survive and return to her no matter what. He stands up from his desk, deciding to wash his face and prepare for the fight of his life. Hayato walks down the empty school hallway, a newfound determination in his eyes. His determined walk is cut short when a female classmate suddenly appears before him. The girl, Ami Shirano, nervously clutches her hands, her friend counter displaying a 3. He initially walks right past her, but she remains standing by the door waiting. Just as he's about to enter the room, Hayato stops and calls out to her. She turns back, looking at him expectantly as he prepares to speak. Ami beams with a hopeful smile, boldly asking if he wants to be friends. The unexpected offer leaves Hayato completely speechless and bewildered. He struggles to comprehend the situation, wondering why anyone would approach him. Before he can answer, 2 other girls rush in and grab Ami from behind. They cheerfully drag her away for a private chat, interrupting his one chance at survival. Hayato is left standing in the hallway, his one chance at survival seemingly snatched away. He clutches a towel, completely bewildered by the sudden and bizarre turn of events. Entering the classroom, his mind races, still processing the missed opportunity to gain a friend. His attention is drawn to a group of popular girls chatting, their high counters a stark contrast to his 0. He bravely approaches one of the girls, but is immediately confronted by a hostile classmate. A blonde girl with a counter of 8 glares at him, furiously demanding why he's bothering her friend. Hayato stands his ground, explaining his own desperate need to make friends in this deadly game. She scoffs at his plea, mockingly asking the group if any of them would ever befriend him. To humiliate him further, she pulls out a golden charm, revealing it was sold by his mother. He stares in shock, realizing the charm is from his mother's cult and was sold for an exorbitant price. The girl cruelly insinuates how his mother gets donations, contrasting it with a photo of her once happy family. She reveals his mother's actions swindled her father and ultimately destroyed her family, causing a divorce. Hayato can only offer a weak apology, claiming he had no part in his mother's actions. In a fit of rage, she tears the charm apart, revealing it contains nothing more than a disgusting fingernail. She furiously lunges at him, accusing him of seeking happiness after his family ruined hers. Hayato retorts with chilling logic, suggesting that dying for everyone else might earn her the fortune she desires. Time continues to tick by as the school day wears on, bringing the deadline ever closer. The countdown clock now shows less than an hour, amplifying the pressure on every student. He clutches his head in terror, realizing he'll suffer the same fate if he remains friendless. The blonde girl, still seething, approaches another student to borrow something, clearly looking for a distraction. The girl hesitates, clutching a manga she just bought and hasn't finished reading. Her blonde friend turns vicious, threatening to end their friendship over the book. The girl reluctantly hands it over, and the blonde smirks, lecturing her about cherishing friends. Nearby, 2 other students gossip about the blonde girl's unpleasant habit of borrowing things. Hayato watches in disbelief, disgusted they're arguing over a manga while he faces death. He grips his hair in a panic, completely lost on how to survive the next hour. Suddenly, an idea sparks in his mind, a potential path to befriending the blonde girl. He reaches into his desk, planning to offer her one of his own manga volumes. His search comes up empty, leaving him confused as he realizes his book isn't there. In a frantic rush, he empties his desk, discovering his one chance at survival has vanished. He realizes with dawning horror that his manga has been stolen right from his desk. Hayato questions the sanity of anyone who would resort to petty theft during a death game. Recalling the blonde girl's borrowing habits, a sudden and terrible suspicion forms in his mind. He glares across the classroom, now certain that she was the one who took his book. But he notices she isn't even reading the manga, instead scrolling casually through her phone. With only 14 minutes left, he knows he needs to change his strategy, and fast. His theory is confirmed as another girl complains the blonde never returned her electronic dictionary. A new risky idea begins to form as he pieces together the blonde girl's strange behavior. He pulls out his phone, ready to put his desperate new plan into action. Hayato's eyes widen as he scrolls, having found exactly what he was looking for. Hayato approaches the girls, asking about the specific details of the missing electronic dictionary. The girl looks up in surprise, wondering how he could possibly know what it looked like. He reveals his phone, showing them an online listing for the dictionary that was sold a week ago. The owner is enraged, seeing that her name on the device was crudely blacked out with a marker. She furiously confronts the blonde girl, accusing her of selling the dictionary on a flea market app. The blonde girl feigns ignorance, casually dismissing the accusation with a bored expression. Her friend shoves the phone forward, demanding to know if the seller's account belongs to her. Another student tries to de-escalate, whispering a warning about the consequences of angering the blonde. The girl hesitates for a moment, then scrolls down the seller's page with a look of dawning realization. Her anger reignites as she discovers another item she lent the blonde, a DVD set, also being sold online. The girl's fury intensifies, revealing the DVD set was a signed, irreplaceable item. The blonde girl coolly challenges her, demanding any proof that connects her to the online account. Hayato confidently steps forward, demanding the blonde girl Mai show him her phone. He then presents his own phone, showing a listing for an extremely rare manga he owns. A classmate connects the dots, realizing a recent notification sound was likely a purchase alert. Mai's smug facade cracks, her expression turning to one of pure rage as she's cornered. Hayato reveals his masterstroke. He just bought his own stolen manga from her account and wants to see the proof. She desperately denies the claims, trying to bluff her way out of the situation. He calmly explains she set a delayed shipping date before reaching directly into her desk. Hayato pulls out the very manga he just bought, declaring he'll take it now and exposing her as a thief. The dictionary's owner gratefully returns Hayato's phone, sealing their new alliance. She then turns on Mai, publicly announcing she refuses to be friends with a thief. Mai is left utterly stunned as her social standing begins to crumble around her. Another girl abandons Mai, deciding that siding with Hayato is the smarter move for survival. The class remembers it was Mai who originally planned to sacrifice Hayato to save themselves. Her former friends now see her as a monster, agreeing that her ruthless nature is too dangerous. In a flash, Mai's friend counter plummets, leaving her with only a single friend left. Her final ally coldly severs ties, waving a casual goodbye as he walks away. With her counter now at 0, Mai collapses in a scream of pure, unadulterated terror. The clock ticks down ominously, with just over 4 minutes left until the deadline. Her former friends begin to air their grievances, revealing the cracks in their own alliances. Another student quietly reads, admitting she always hated being in the same class as them. The class coldly watches Mai's breakdown, agreeing that she brought this fate upon herself. Hayato smirks, feeling a refreshing sense of victory after turning the tables on his tormentor. Ami Shirano approaches him again, this time successfully offering her friendship. His counter finally changes from 0 to 1, leaving him stunned by the sudden reversal of fortune. The girl whose dictionary was stolen also offers her friendship, grateful for his help. With his counter now at 2, Hayato is overcome with relief, realizing he has survived. The scene cuts back to Mai, desperately crawling as the final minutes tick away on the clock. Her face is a mask of pure terror as she weeps, staring into the face of her own demise. Mai desperately begs her former friend, offering to pay for past favors to regain her friendship. Her old allies cruelly reject her, sneering that they want nothing to do with her, money or not. She looks up in utter disbelief as the reality of her complete social isolation sinks in. Tears stream down her face as she frantically scans the room for a single shred of pity. She screams at the entire class, her voice filled with raw terror as she begs for a friend. With only 17 seconds left, the other students watch in horrified silence, the tension unbearable. She clasps her hands in a final, desperate plea, promising to do anything to avoid her fate. The game master suddenly appears, mocking her inability to control her own social standing. Defeated, she can only whisper the word friend as the last moments of her life slip away. A violent burst of pink light erupts from her face, signaling the brutal execution of her penalty. Hayato breathes a sigh of relief, his thoughts immediately turning to his sister, Kisaki. The game master muses on how easily people are ruined by greed, even in the real world. As a cleanup crew handles the aftermath, Myakuzuka explains Mai's obsession with money cost her everyone's trust. Her lifeless face is zipped into a bag, a grim testament to why no one came to her aid. The students watch in silence as the body is removed, her fate sealed by the hatred she inspired. With a terrifying grin, Myakuzuka announces the second round's brutal new rule. Hayato stares in disbelief, horrified that the deadly experiment is far from over. A classmate points out a shocking development. All their friend counters have reset to 0. The clock on the wall resets to 24 hours, signaling the start of a new countdown. Hayato grimly understands the new stakes. Only the group with the most friends will survive this time. A blue-haired student confidently suggests a way for them all to survive the second round. He passionately rallies the class, believing he's found a loophole to save everyone. A classmate with glasses looks on in confusion, asking him to explain his optimistic plan. He proposes a simple solution. If everyone befriends each other, they'll form one massive, unbeatable group. Two girls grasp the hopeful implication, realizing that this time, no one has to be sacrificed. But a cocky student named Brandon scoffs at the idea, completely dismissing their plan for peace. With a predatory grin, he declares he has no intention of befriending those he considers trash. The white-haired student finds the brewing conflict fascinating, deciding to watch how things unfold. Brandon's arrogance is short-lived as another student casually trips him, sending him to the floor. The class watches in shock as the new group's counter already displays a 5, leaving Brandon in the dust. With a predatory smile, Brandon confirms his entire clique is present and accounted for. He sits confidently with his crew, revealing a powerful alliance of 12 students already formed. The blue-haired student's hopeful plan immediately falls apart as he realizes the grim math. He calculates that with Brandon's group of 12, the remaining students can't form a majority to win. The idealist rushes forward, trying to reason with Brandon and save his plan for mutual survival. Brandon holds up his water bottle, his distorted reflection mocking the boys' desperate plea for unity. The horrifying truth dawns on them. It's either join Brandon's exclusive clique or face certain elimination. A green-haired student named Sora Hosoya approaches the idealist, condescendingly explaining his naivety. With a sly grin, Sora dismisses the boy's actions as a simple-minded ploy for the spotlight. He immediately demonstrates his own strategy, approaching Brandon with flattery and offering his servitude to join the winning team. Brandon smugly accepts Sora's pledge of loyalty, officially welcoming him to the winning side. His cronies immediately begin recruiting, offering the rest of the class a simple choice: join their group or die. The threat works instantly, as several girls panic and beg to be included in the alliance. Sora turns back to the idealist, smugly lecturing him on the effectiveness of his manipulative strategy. He then tries to persuade the boy to abandon his principles and join Brandon's group for guaranteed survival. But Sora's triumphant moment is cut short as he realizes there's a crucial detail he overlooked. Brandon reveals the true cost of friendship, demanding a hefty cash payment to join his exclusive clique. The sudden financial requirement leaves both Sora and the idealist completely dumbfounded. With a cruel grin, Brandon reminds everyone that he's very selective about who he considers a friend. Sora is paralyzed with fear, realizing the price of survival is far more than he can afford. A female student panics, realizing she can't afford the steep price of survival. The idealist stares in disbelief, his plan for unity shattered by pure greed. The white-haired observer finds the chaos amusing, declaring this hell a perfect hunting ground. Refusing to give up, the idealist makes one last desperate plea for everyone to unite. The observer condescendingly praises the boy's noble yet naive ideals. He then dismisses that kindness as a useless relic, fit only to be hung on a wall. With a final cryptic wave, the observer leaves the class to their own devices. Brandon, ever the opportunist, confirms he's open to taking electronic payments for friendship. He then reveals the outrageous price for joining his group, a cool 1 million yen. The remaining students are left isolated and defeated, unable to meet the steep demand. Sora desperately asks Hayato for a loan, but Hayato insists it's impossible. He clutches his wallet, admitting he doesn't even have that kind of money for himself. Brandon smugly gestures to the outcasts, inviting them to join his winning team for a price. His crony yells at the desperate students, telling them to call their parents for the cash. Sora looks defeated, explaining that his family is poor and he has no one to turn to. Brandon loses his patience, threatening to raise the price for anyone who hesitates. Other students frantically call home, lying that they need money for educational materials. A girl stares at her phone in terror, realizing her life now depends on raising the funds. The idealist tries to calm the remaining students, pointing out that Brandon's group is beatable. He proposes a new strategy: unite their 10 members and convince 2 from Brandon's group to defect. A classmate with glasses immediately dismisses his plan, stating that poaching members from Brandon's group is impossible. She then reveals Brandon's social media profile, which is filled with pictures of his extravagant wealth. The idealist is left speechless, unable to comprehend how a student could possess such a fortune. His classmate explains a rumor that Brandon runs a pyramid scheme, selling get-rich-quick materials to others. While she admits it's just hearsay, Brandon's flashy gold watch suggests there's truth to the stories. She clarifies that Brandon secures his group's loyalty not with friendship, but through material cooperation. In exchange for their allegiance, he showers his followers with cash and luxury goods. A girl named Shiori suddenly objects, refusing to believe that people can be bought so easily. She insists his followers are still human and must know that lives are more important than accessories. Shiori passionately pleads with the class, urging them not to be fooled by petty cash when their survival is at stake. Brandon interrupts Shiori's passionate speech, asking to borrow her arm for a demonstration. He grabs her wrist, menacingly holding a lit cigarette just inches from her skin. With a predatory grin, he challenges her naive dismissal of his petty cash. Brandon brutally proves his point, inflicting a painful lesson on her arm to silence her. He smugly taps his gold watch, lecturing her on the undeniable power of money. He mocks her noble ideals, questioning if anyone would willingly suffer for her cause. Brandon slams his foot on a desk, aggressively asserting that his brand of friendship is superior. He then offers the remaining students a new lower price of 100,000 yen for their survival. Shiori and another girl reluctantly agree to join, deciding their lives are worth more than the cost. Haunted by a previous elimination, another student quickly agrees to pay, desperate to avoid the same fate. The idealist watches in horror as his allies dwindle, leaving only a handful of outcasts. Shiori turns away from her friends, her resolve hardening as she makes a choice for survival. Brandon smirks, placing a hand on Shiori's shoulder as she officially defects to his side. Her friend stares in disbelief, shattered by the betrayal of someone she's known since middle school. Shiori coldly explains that her own life is worth the 1 million yen price tag. Another student, Wataru Sasaba, prostrates himself on the floor, begging Brandon for a spot in his group. He desperately pleads his case, explaining his sick parents make it impossible for him to pay. Brandon considers the boy's plea, deciding to offer him a chance out of supposed generosity. He clarifies, however, that survival can't be free, as it would be unfair to his paying members. Wataru thanks him profusely, promising to do anything in exchange for a place in the winning group. Brandon smirks, offering the desperate boy a chance to survive by passing a twisted entrance exam.